Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, the Queen Bee, Dani. How are you feeling? As we chat this morning to the devilishly handsome, the fabulously wonderful, the incredibly knowledgeable Mr. Fidelbo Hill, the modern man. Good morning. Jodie Soul, good morning. Babna Reddy, good morning. Elise Woodbine, good morning. The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon, good morning, sir.
Shut up, for f***'s sake. Jesus.
The fantastic Lizzie Jackson Barrett, good morning. Josephine Sandra, everybody, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello. How are you doing? Hang on a minute. Let me sort this out behind me. I should have been more prepared. Otherwise, you're getting notes from Beard last night, and that won't mean anything to you guys. Good morning. Welcome to the show, Rise Up Show with me, your host, Dani. I just realised, I'm looking at myself because you can't help it, can you? And I'm looking a bit different. What's going on with me? I've not got a scarf on. Are you ready for a scarf tutorial? Wait there, you lot. Although I can't just dig this today. I wonder if I should just do this. I'm going to give you a scarf tutorial. I don't feel like me if I don't have a scarf on my head. Right, what we're going for this. I have got my Tesco Kiss Rainbow Pride situation happening today. How are you all doing? For anybody that's been asking me about how do you do these scarves on your head, Dani, it's a bit of a signature thing that I've got going on. You need a proper scarf like this. You didn't know you were getting this morning, did you? Hang on a minute there, you lot. So you get a proper scarf like this, a long one, fold it in half. And then I look really different with it. Do I look really different without a scarf? I feel like my face doesn't look as tall as what it should do. I feel like I'm much more round and squat in the face, right? So put it on like a winter scarf like this. Pull it through, that, and then push it back. This is how easy it is. This is how lazy I am. This is not because I think I look glamorous. It's entirely laziness that I do this, and then pop it over to the side, and then put my little bun through, and then pop it there. I look a bit more like me now, don't I? Here we go. Morning, everybody. Here I am. This is Dani Wallace, your host and compere for the show Rise Up Show. I hope you're well. It was a great session last night on Be Heard. So as you know, we started Be Heard 5 weeks ago. It was week 5 last night. And we were talking about tips and tricks that speakers use. And it never fails to delight me that when I start to share these things, everyone's like, that's a thing. Oh my goodness. When we start using our voices intentionally and our bodies intentionally and all that sort of stuff, real magic happens. And last night was a proper light bulb session. It's one of my favorites, week 5. So if you are on Be Heard, I hope you enjoyed it. Yesterday was an absolute belter of a day here at IATQB HQ. Yesterday I went, and I think one of the things that has assisted me in this whole mojo situation that I've been talking to you about for the past week or so, I got on stage yesterday. And when I say stage, it wasn't a real stage, but it was a corporate event that I was speaking at for a coffee company called Regio 42. And they are brilliant. Like, they're a family company. They're an independent. They're great. They're nationwide. They've got a great ethos within their company. And when I work with corporates, often I do my research into them. So they may make the approach to me, or I might make the approach to them. But I've really got to like the companies, just as with all of my clients. You know, when I work with anybody in any capacity, I've got to be aligned with them. You know, I couldn't, for example, there could be some crazy, but say, for example, there is a company that was sort of really heavily using animal testing or something like that. I couldn't go into that company and go and speak because it wouldn't be aligned with where I was at. So this company, Regio 42, I met them, or I met Lynn, the owner, who's just a wonderful human being, like proper ballsy, like badass woman in business. She knows her beans, she knows her salt, she certainly knows her coffee. And she's built this company from the ground up over the last, I think, 32 years, something like that. you know, she spent time living in Peru. She builds these relationships with the coffee makers, the manufacturers are ace, and like I really went to town for this company. Went in and I was on stage and I was doing like a talk for their sales staff. And honestly, it was like I had been uncaged for a little bit. I know that you know, Be Inspired wasn't so long ago. It's very different when I'm running the whole event, but I just went as a speaker. It was just essentially performance on my part. And it just really lit that bit of me that is like, oh, this is why I do what I do. You know, for me, it's very selfishly, you know, I've worked on the talks to share with people and to teach people. And that really, you know, I love that, you know, when I talk, things make a difference. But the delivery of it, being in that performance space, it really does. There's something about it that just lights me up. And that's how I felt yesterday. I came back and I felt energized, and I don't know if it's the coffee. And so much so this morning, even though my anxiety has been playing up for the past few weeks, as you know, it's not something I hide from. I'm not frightened of anything. It's just a physical thing. I had a coffee this morning because they gave me a coffee machine, didn't they? They gave me a coffee machine. Yeah, I have a coffee machine. I was like, oh, thanks. They gave me like coffee and cups and stuff. And I feel like we should be sponsored by Regio this morning. But yeah, I had a coffee from my coffee machine this morning. Anything can happen. It's like roulette. I'm either gonna fall into a spiral of panic or be super productive today, and I feel like it's going to be the latter. I feel like I'm ready for it. So yeah, that was yesterday, and it was really great to get on stage again. It was really great to sort of be re-energized in the energy of people, all safe, all COVID safe, and all that kind of stuff. So pop your pitchforks down for those of you that are a bit sketchy about that. It was all done within the realms of what we're able to do under the current guidelines. Speaking of that. The Summer Swarm, my angels. The Summer Swarm is still on. If you have not got your place yet, you're going to need to get your place. We're going to close the doors a week tomorrow because obviously the Summer Swarm happens the week after. So if you have not got your space on the Summer Swarm strategy sessions, you need to secure your place so we can get all your food ordered and get all your swag ordered and what have you. So please, 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 if you are not on the Summer Swarm strategy sessions, what are they? You will spend a day with me in real life, with a very small group of people, masterminding and strategizing the next 6 to 12 months of your business. Now, ordinarily, those sorts of sessions cost around £1,000. Now, I want to make sure on the other side of COVID, you guys are as prepared as possible. So it's only I think it's like 347 plus VAT. So if you do want to get involved, if money is an issue, let me know. We can arrange something for you. So if you want to come on the strategy sessions, if you want to get into that room with me, with my eyes on your business for the whole day in fantastic venues throughout the UK, we've got Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham and London. Give me a shout and Glastonbury as well. Although I think we're going to change Glastonbury because there were loads of you that wanted to book onto Glastonbury. And I can't see any of you. So if Glastonbury is going to go ahead, then I'm going to need you guys to get yourselves booked on. All right, my darlings. So that is the Summer Swarm. I'll be posting about that in the Hive and on the Queen Bee Dani page a little bit later on today. Right, you lot. Enough about that. That's us all up to date and energized and ready. It is time for our fabulous guest this morning. We are talking relationships this morning. And this is one of those shows where me and the guest may have kind of been in each other's circles, but we haven't actually had a conversation yet. So this is one of those fantastic shows where you know it's going to be absolute fire, but you don't know what's going to happen. And so this is one of those shows. Buckle up for our conversation today, all around relationships. Welcome to the show, the glorious Tabitha Jane. Good morning.
Morning.
Here she is. Hello, good morning, my angel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you are welcome. It's so great to be here. And your energy is it is magnetic. It's amazing. I love it.
Ah, thank you. I think it's in no small part down to the coffee that I've had this morning, actual proper coffee. I'm feeling a little bit, like a little bit buzzy this morning. I'm quite excited.
You should be buzzy. You're the queen bee.
But Tabitha, thank you for joining us on the show this morning. You were recommended to the show by a really good friend of mine, the fabulous Sarah Shearman of Sway, who does the most wonderful work out in the construction world. How have we come across each other? What is it that you do? And tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'm a relationship expert. My real mission is to end suffering in relationships for people, because, you know, our divorce rate, you know, 42% of us are getting divorced post-COVID. People are splitting up. There's just so much stuff around relationships, and the stuff that I teach, I just wish they taught it at school. Like when you understand yourself, and then you can understand you know, the men in your lives if you're a woman, and vice versa, things just become a lot easier. You have more compassion, more understanding, and that's kind of what I'm here to teach and show and model, and that's what is really important to me.
This is really interesting, because often what a lot of us do, and this is throughout our lives, not even just in our intimate relationships, throughout our lives, we think about ourselves in a really insular way. We think that people behave in a way that is at us. They are behaving in a way that is, you know, personal and a personal attack, or, you know, they're thinking about us when they make decisions. And this is right across the board, be it mentors that we potentially work with, friends that we have, family that we have. We're all so self-centered and at the center of our own universes that often we forget that that person in that particular relationship is thinking in very much the same way. And often when they make decisions about their behavior, or even when they don't subconsciously, when they're just doing behavior, when they're living, it's not a personal slight to you. They're doing it with themselves in mind, because that's how we become, isn't it? That's how we live.
Yeah, and I see it as, you know, our life is just a sequence of events. You know, our whole life, we're just on this trajectory, and it's not about what happens, it's about how we internalize it. You know, it's what we make everything mean. So I talk a lot about that, and often when I do talks, I'll talk about, you know, when you point the finger at someone, you got 3 fingers pointing back at you. So whenever I talk about relationships, it's like, even with my partner now, if something triggers me, if something annoys me, the first place I need to look is me, not him. It's go, okay, what's that done for me? Like, why is that triggering me? Is it triggering old stuff because I've had a bad experience? Is it triggering this? Is it triggering that? What is it about me? And sometimes I need to go and deal with my own stuff. And sometimes actually there's a boundary that's been crossed, or I need to verbalize or express what's going on for me so that person understands. Does that make sense? So it's all about communication. I know everyone talks about communication, but
there's a reason why it comes up time and time again. It's because, you know, the phrase communication is key. Sounds cliche, but cliches are rooted in truth.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly.
There's a tricky one here with communication, and not that I'm asking you to counsel me in this particular situation, but this is something that comes up time and time again, particularly within the Wallace household. And let me know in the comments if this is something that you guys experience. That when you attempt to communicate your requirements with your partner, be they an intimate partner or a non-intimate partner, that can be and is often perceived as nagging. So as soon as you make an attempt or an approach to communicate in a way that is loving, not in a kind of a way that I'm getting it, I'm just going to, hey, I'm going to put my cards on the table, and all of a sudden you're met with an eye roll, or you're met with what's she asking of me now? How the fuck do you communicate then?
Well, there's a lot of things to consider. So I teach a lot about masculine and feminine energy. And when I say energy, you can have women in masculine energy and men in feminine energy. So I'm talking about energy, but there is a correlation with, if you know what sex you are. And with a man, the worst thing you can do with masculine energy is criticize. So if they feel in any way that you're criticizing them, you're not going to get the best result. So the 2 things I talk about is firstly getting the right energy. So if you're in that overwhelmed, stressed out, pissed off energy, it's not going to land very well. Whereas if you get into, I teach, it's one of many great companies. I don't know if you've heard of Joanna Martin, but I license to use her soft power type. So I help women get into their power. So if you're in your, you know, your queen energy or your lover energy, and you're saying, you know, this is what, so when you feel differently when you communicate, that will change your communication. And then it's how you communicate. So masculine energy is really modal, right? So they're in work box, or they're in family box, or they're in Xbox, or they're in, you know, whatever box.
Yeah.
And so when because women want to connect. Feminine energy is all about connection. We're driven to connect. Masculine energy is driven to win. So you need to kind of set him up to win. And also what I find is a lot of women, they don't present the problem. They present the problem, the solution, exactly how they need to do it in exact detail. And so there's a little bit of relinquishing control that needs to go on as well. So I know I'm saying a lot here, and there's lots to it, but it depends on what's happened. Sure. But if you get into the right energy and you get your partner into the right space, so if you're being respectful and saying, look, I really need to talk to you about this because I need something done, or I need help with something, when's a good time? He has an opportunity to come out of that box he's in, into the box with you, because we'll just talk. Like the amount of times I'll be doing dinner.
There's a reason why girls like invented hopscotch. Like we're used to jumping from box to box. Sometimes dual boxes.
Well, our energy's diffuse, right? Our energy's diffuse. So we can kind of we're all over the place, really. Whereas that kind of hunter man is hunt or be killed. So they've got that laser focus, which is really good, but not so good when it comes to us. Right. And so I'll be doing dinner, and I'll just start talking at Paul, and he'll be like, do you need me to focus on this, or are you just talking? I'm like, I'm just talking. You don't need to really pay much attention. Or actually, no, I do need. He'll go, right, well, you need to, I'm in the middle of this, give me 5 minutes and I'll be all yours. You know, so it's just kind of learning to respect each other's space, I suppose. But we are bad. We are terrible. I'm terrible for like just talking at him randomly.
What you said then was very interesting, and one of the things that that me and Wallace have learned over the course of time, because at the beginning, maybe the first 5 years of our relationship, I would be in that space. I would be going in saying, hey, this needs to happen, that needs to happen, that needs to happen. And I'd had this behavior modeled to me by my mum. So, and if I look at my mum and then my grandma, and then I look at everybody else, all of the models that have been shared with me as I was growing up, and my sister, and I look at the way that they deal with things in a very certain way. And it's, would we say control? Probably, yeah, in that they want to control their safety and their outcomes, because in the past, the relationships that they've been in haven't been safe. So in order for them to control their outcomes, they have gone, this needs to be done this way, that way, this way, that way, the end, in order to keep themselves safe. Now, for me, conflict isn't safe. Like, I've watched everybody live in conflict, and that's like not a template that I can live by. It makes me feel unsafe, and it makes me behave in a way that it's like in a stress space. So like fight, flight, or freeze, something like that. Yeah. So I find it very difficult to just say to somebody, I need this done in this way. So I tried that at the beginning with Wallace, and Wallace is like, well, you're just going at me here. And his immediate is defense. And so we were like coming to loggerheads like this all the time when there were problems in the relationship or the house or whatever. And then I learned that I needed to book an appointment. Schedule some time.
Yeah.
So allow him to say we need to talk about this. But then for him, that in the initial, until we realized what it was that we needed to do, in his previous relationships, we need to talk means this relationship needs to end. Yeah. So
I always say, don't ever say that. Don't ever say
we need to talk.
Say what it's about. Yeah, just say, oh, I really want to talk about, I've got some stuff on, I really need help with some childcare, or I really need some support with this, or I need some sort of that, or, you know, I have this this whole thing about courageous conversations, that being really vulnerable, and those conversations that, you know, had I had them, my marriage may not have failed. So it's really important to me that people have those conversations that might be a bit sticky, because it might be about money, or might be about the kids, or it might be about how you're feeling, or maybe not getting your needs met. It's not about ending the relationship. It's just about going, actually, there's something a bit wonky here. We need to have a courageous conversation. And I find that most of the time it's uncomfortable, but it leads to way more connection.
Yeah. Way more connection. And that was interesting. So like at the time, I remember my family going, you need to tell him this and you need to tell him. And I started writing to him. I started to send him a message, like a big long one, to allow it to digest. So I didn't just jump on him. He was able to read it and then know that he's not in danger because he's just reading, and then be able to digest it and then be able to have a conversation about it afterwards. And it's just so interesting the way that we as women, or people that, you know, identify as women, or people that are in the feminine, or if, you know, you're non-binary and you're sliding into that sort of feminine energy, that is interesting how then if we just tweak the way we approach. But here's the thing, Tabitha, sometimes I can't be asked. Sometimes I'm just like, will you just bring yourself to this conversation, please? Because I can't be asked trying to facilitate it. I have too much to think about.
Well, my partner has a saying, and I won't say the word, but like just sometimes.
You can swear if you want to swear. This is safe.
Everyone's a bit of a cunt. Sometimes we all are. Like everybody is, you know. Just sometimes we are, and it's okay. We're human, you know. And I think, you know, everyone. There's no such thing as perfection, you know. We just need to show up as we are, and that's the thing. It takes time to build a relationship. Whenever I talk about women who are single and struggling to get in relationships, it's like it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, it takes time to get to know someone and how best to communicate and what they need in order to get the best from each other. It takes time. Everyone's different.
And this is it. The expectation at the start of many relationships is that it's, you know, it's sunshine and roses, and we have this passion at the beginning of relationships, don't we, that fuels a lot and allows us to, I guess, paper over a lot of cracks at the start of things, because you have that attraction, that real sort of fiery pheromone attraction right at the beginning, that really in the grand scheme of things is designed to be finite. That pheromone attraction at the beginning is about coupling, it's about setting up to mate, isn't it? And that after time morphs and requires work. And do you find that a lot of people try to judge their now standard based on a beginning of relationship standard? And is that even a thing that you can continue and recreate?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it is hormonal. You know, that initial attraction, that chemistry, it's a hormonal response. It's that dopamine hit. It's just like amazing. You feel on top of the world. You know, the beginning of a relationship, you say, oh, would you put the bins out? And he's like, yes, darling, of course.
Yeah, I can't wait to put the bins out for you.
Like, 2 years later, you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, do you have to put the bins out? You know, so it really changes. But I do think it can continue, because I think that attraction, that sexual chemistry is eventually what turns into love. Right. And then that's where you get more of the bonding hormones. But it is about understanding what you both need, and it's about connecting on levels like intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. It's you know, making sure that you're going in the right direction, you want the same things, and you can support each other in each other's journey, and that you're not, you know, there's a bit of a myth about you're my other half. It's like, no, we're whole and complete people. Yeah, it's you're sharing that journey with someone else.
Right. And that is a hugely important one as well. Do you find, I mean, do you work predominantly like with couples directly, or do you work with one part of the relationship?
So I generally I work with women. So there's kind of there's the single women struggling to attract the right man. So I do a lot of stuff around attracting the right man. Also, you know, my dream, obviously, my relationship ended after a long time, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So if I can help couples stay in the relationship, but what I find is I tend to help women, because women have so much more power in a relationship than they think. Yeah. And so when they step into their power, the relationship changes. So I feel like I'm serving men and women by working with women. I do work with men as well, but I'll tend to work with the woman, or I have to do couple stuff as well. So I'll work with both of them, or I work more with, I tend to attract people where she's maybe lost, she's unfulfilled, he's kind of doing okay. He's like, I just wanted to be happy, but I don't know how to help her. And then I work with her, and then I bring him in at the end. Because the thing about, you know, I've spoken to marriage counsellors, and a lot of them say you're just refereeing. And for me, it's like oftentimes the reason she can't communicate, she doesn't know what's going on. So how the earth can she communicate with her partner? So if I help her understand where she is, clear old stuff, reveal her unconscious sabotage, get rid of, do that work with her, then she's in a better position to come back to the relationship and communicate and create that partnership, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tabitha, what brought you to this work? Like, have you always been in the relationship space? Have you always worked in this way? Or what brought you to the incredible work that you do now?
Yeah, so as everyone has a story. So I retrained to be a coach about 10 years ago. Didn't quite know what. My career was in like HR and training, and I'd run a small recruitment business. And I then found a company called Damsels in Success. I hated the name, but I love what it stood for. And I launched a personal development group for women. And I kind of fell into business coaching. So that's what I did. And it was all about mindset, energy, and business growth strategy. So it was all about how to get more feminine flow in your business, because business is very much based on a masculine paradigm.
So interesting. We've had this conversation a lot these past couple of weeks. And not intentionally, it's just the way the conversations have gone.
Yeah. And there's so much research on that. I'm not going to bore you, but that's what I did. But what I found was, even when I was doing business coaching, we're one person, we're not boxed off. And so if something was like, I'd have clients come in and we'd be looking at their marketing or looking at something, and then they'd be crying about their relationship. So I'd be like, we need to deal with that, because you can't focus on that until we've dealt with this. So I found I just kind of naturally did it. And then 5.5 years ago, my husband left after 17 years, and I was, devastated. I idolized him.
It's a side swipe when that happens, isn't it? Especially if you're validated. Like, we often, and again, I'm speaking only from my lived experience as a woman, we often validate ourselves by the relationships that we're in. 100%. We often, the hat that we wear is wife or partner, right?
Yep. And it was really important to me. And I remember being on stage in front of 300 women about 3 weeks before he left, saying I had the most amazing marriage. And I knew things weren't quite right, and I knew I needed to have a courageous conversation, but I didn't want to lose him. So that fear of losing him is ultimately what played out. And his main reason for leaving me was he didn't feel he was needed. Right. So I was so focused on my business. I was so focused on growing it, and I kind of lost sight of us. And it's not totally my fault. We co-create everything. So we both created it. And I kind of just went on this massive journey of understanding even more about relationships. And then both my parents died 9 weeks apart. So in a space of 18 months, I felt like I lost everybody.
All of your rocks, like all the people that we tether ourselves to, I guess.
And I felt genuinely like orphaned in every way. Even though I had my daughter, I just felt really orphaned. And what happened is I just went on this mental dating journey. Like, literally, I'd have clients coming around, and I'd have to have longer sessions with clients because they'd want to hear about my love life, because I'd see my stories, I'm like, oh my God, who are you dating now? What's going on? What's the story? Because you should write a book about all these.
Honestly, really interestingly. Sorry, go on. You were so. I was just saying about.
Get a relationship.
That's it. I was speaking to Emma Sale from the glorious Emma Sale, who has the Killing Kittens business, and also she has the Sister Network. Her mum, Mally, wrote a book about being an older lady on the dating scene and the stories that are in there. I would not like to enter the dating. I'm 37. No. I don't want to enter the dating scene anymore because there's a lot going on right now.
And that's when I did. I think I was about 37 when he left. 30. So about 5.5 years ago. And to be honest, I met him at university at a nightclub, and then you're suddenly thrust into today's society, and you're like, okay, this online dating, I'll give it a go. I think it was my cousin that goes, oh, you should go on this date. And I was like, cool. It was like a kid in a candy shop. I was like, woohoo.
Swipe.
But it, it also was I've had every ghosting, heartbreak, you name it, it's happened. And what I realized, even though I just knew it was me, I knew I wasn't attracting the right person, and I kept attracting unavailable men. I was sitting there going, like at one point, like, yeah, emotionally unavailable, living too far away. And this one time I dated this guy, and I thought, oh, he's really nice, we were getting on really well, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this could be something. And about 6 weeks or 7 weeks into the relationship, he came over for dinner and he went, I've got something to tell you. I was like, what? He goes, oh, I've been asked to coach the Olympic team, because he was an archery coach, for the 2020 Olympics in Sri Lanka. Okay. I was like, for the love of God, universe, for God's sake. And I was like, what is it about me? And I think I just did so much work on myself, and that's really how I help women accelerate that process. Rather than taking 5.5 years and going through my journey, I can help them through my coaching and through my own personal experience, just get into a better place. And so just really, I mean, I've learned how to reveal your unconscious sabotage. So everyone has an unconscious sabotage created in your early childhood, and it really does tend to play out in relationships. So when I learned to do it, I had a client, she was a business coaching client for years, and she'd been divorced twice, single for 15 years. I think I'd have given up, to be fair. And
just get the cats in, just bring the cats in.
I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, for God's sake. And I said, right, you need to come round because we need to sort this out. And she came over because she kept meeting guys, and like 6 weeks in, they would just say, oh, it's not me, it's you. And I'm like, at some level, you're unconsciously repelling men. I just don't know what it is. She came over, and we did a reveal, and it actually turned out she'd made a decision when she was 8 years old that she was better off alone. And once we shifted that, I mean, not that I promise this to all my clients, but 2 weeks later, she met this guy, and, you know, she's just moved in with him. And now we're still coaching now. And she's now like, how do I now live with someone? Because I've been, you know, single and really independent for so many years.
Yeah. How do you then welcome someone into your space and not want to do everything?
Yes, that's the next level. I mean, her biggest thing is leaving the bottle top. You know, when you get the bit of plastic off a bottle top on a milk, he leaves that on the side when the bin is right next to it. She's like, it drives me nuts. I was like, babe, if that's the only thing that you've got to worry about, I think you need to let that go.
And this is the thing, isn't it? That when we do sabotage, I do a little bit of it. I mean, as part of Move Be, as part of the book that I've written, it's talking about overcoming self-sabotage, understanding what self-sabotage cycles look like, and how we do it, and getting ourselves to identify what are those practices, what are those self-sabotage, what do we do? And often what we do with relationships, we've told ourselves in very much the same way as your client that, you know, we don't deserve somebody, or we're just going to be alone anyway, so it doesn't matter. Actually, when you do find someone, you start to find ways of fulfilling it yourself, like you say. So this guy might be the best thing since sliced bread, or at least definitely open to conversations and growth, which is, you know, a starter for 10 for anybody, being open to grow. But he might leave his toothbrush in the wrong place. That could be the maker or breaker for that person if they've decided that this is not for them, and it's not even them consciously thinking it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why did you bin that guy off? Well, he were really untidy. Might treat you like an absolute princess. So you can work around a little bit of untidiness. And even if it's only the bottle top, I find it fascinating what we do. There was a meme I saw on like a little Giphy meme on Instagram the other day, Tabitha. And it was this bird, this black bird, that's strutting like this to the tune of, to the introduction of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. This is me strolling in. This is my walk to the walk to my husband when I'm going to go and pick a fight because I've not had any attention. So instead of, and this is, you know, kids do this as well, don't they? If they're not having a need met, they may try and meet it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like
exactly.
To pick a fight.
Yeah, so I just teach women how to just communicate better. I had another client, she'd been married 20 years, and the relationship was kind of dead. So there will be people that can resonate with, they've been with someone a long time. It's like, they don't want to split up, but yeah.
What is there anymore? I'm just living with this guy.
He's got financial security. He's all right most of the time ish. Don't really want to talk to him. So I don't want to have sex with him. And one of the sessions we did, her lover score was really low. So I taught her just how to get into a lover energy. So I do a lot of embodiment work. So just that's all she had to do for the next 2 weeks was just practice being in that energy. That's it. She didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to say anything different. And she came back and she went, oh my God. I was like, what? She goes, well, it was really lovely and we didn't argue once. And I was like, well, how often were you arguing? She's like, every day, like bickering. And I was like, wow. And I said, well, that's because before you had a bit of a fuck off energy going on. And now you've got a beautiful, juicy lover and he's coming up to you and he's wanting to put his arms around you and you're not causing the same friction. So even just by changing your energy, it can change the relationship. And that was obviously the start of her journey of now, she's had the big courageous conversation that she needed to have. And, she goes, I can't believe I'm getting back what I had 20 years ago. So it is, you can recreate it.
Yeah. We often leave these elephants in the room. You both know what's going on. There's this huge elephant in the room. It's a big elephant and no one's talking about it. And like you say, these courageous conversations are really, really key, especially when, that relationship has been, like you say, 20 years, a long time for people to be sat with an elephant in the room, especially if you've decided that there's only two people that are meant to be in that relationship. You've not decided polyamory with this elephant. You decided on monogamy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing work. I just love it.
So how have you not grown your business, I guess, but over the course of lockdown, lots of people, as you said, right at the top end of the conversation, lots of people have been filing for divorce, lots of people have been splitting up, spending that time with their partners and realizing that I don't really want to spend that much time with them. And if they don't want to spend that much time with them, should they even be together? How has your work changed? Have you got busier?
Well, so what happened is obviously I was doing business coaching for a long time. And then after my parents died and things just I had I suppose a bit of a breakdown. And I actually ended up working for another coach for about a year, just running his business. It kind of I could just take my foot off the pedal really and just not, I did think obviously, but it's just different when you're employed.
Yeah, there's no hustle involved.
No, it's very different. It's a totally different energy. And it just kind of got me back on my feet emotionally. And it was actually just before lockdown, I was running an event for him. And one of the crew members, she was having some problems with her husband. And she started talking to me. And I was like, oh, this is what's going on for him. This is what's going on for you. Maybe. And she was like, oh, you're so good at this. You should do it. And I was like, well, I've done it for years. I said, but I haven't done it recently. And you won't know that because you've only seen me with this other coach.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the first thing, that I need to get back into my passion. I've spent so much time and energy building relationships with people and spending time and money on my own, my own coaching, my own training. I was like, I need to get back into this. I didn't want to do business coaching anymore. And I said to one of my friends who's a coach, I was like, I'm going to start back again, but I don't want to do business. And she was like, maybe you should do dating after divorce. You've had a lot of experience. And I was like, yeah, I have.
That's right.
So last summer, that's when I wrote my ultimate guide to magnetizing the right man. And so I started my business at the beginning of lockdown, or in the lockdown.
Oh, amazing!
This business, I mean, obviously, I still have
in this current guise, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, I've still had a few business coaching clients, and a few people still come back to me and go, "Can you still do some stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because you exist, that's fine, but that's not. I don't want to promote that because
you want to put your focus where."
I just feel like, especially the last 5 years, or even the last 10 years, everything I've experienced has now brought me to this, and I've never felt so aligned in my life. It's just, it makes me cry. I want to help women just be happy in themselves, because the most important relationship is the one with yourself, right?
Right. And it's like, RuPaul says this, anybody who's a fan of RuPaul, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else or allow somebody else to love you? And with that in mind, Tabitha, how do we find out more about what it is that you do, what you've got coming up? How do we contact you? How do we work with you? I want to know.
So I launched a free Facebook group about a month ago called the Relationships Redefined Lounge. So I can put that link. I've also got a link to obviously the free guide, the Magnetizing the Right Man. I'm working on the Saving Your Relationship guide and the Empowerment guide because it all starts with you. So really, I want to build the community because I want to help as many women as possible. Obviously, a few of them will trickle down and work with me personally. I can't work with everybody, but if I can
7.5
still,
billion people in the world,
if I can still help loads, I can still do it through that community. I'm sharing like little masterminds, like on Courageous Conversations, like being a magnet in your relationship. I'm posting. I'm about to, when I get to my 100th member, we're going to do a men's panel. They work so well. So I get like 5 men. Women ask their questions, and just to get that insight, because women go, oh, that's how they, okay, wow. I mean, I've watched about 3 or 4 of them now in live events, and they work amazingly. So I'm going to create my own version, but online in this group. And yeah, I just think it's going to be brilliant.
I love it.
The community.
One of our friends of the show and one of the previous speakers at Be Inspired, Fidel Bohill, sits in that space where he answers those questions, the modern man. And every time we have him on the show, everyone's like, we didn't think about it like that. As soon as we allow ourselves with our men, we become more open to.
We're collaborating with him for Sarah Shearman's
brilliant
group, with the love panel. So I'm the woman and he's the guy. He's great. Yes.
Yeah, and mate, what a power team between the two of you. I love that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love that. Cool. So if you don't mind, Tabitha, if you could pop the links to anything that you would like, us to know more about. Yeah. I know those of you watching at home will definitely want to know more about the work that Tabitha does and how to get involved with it. So if you could post those links in on the Queen Bee Dani page on this live, that would be amazing.
I shall.
Thank you so much for spending the time with us this morning and getting up with us and sharing your energy. It's been brilliant to speak to you, and I'm sure it won't be the last time you and I have a conversation.
Definitely not.
Tabitha Jane, thank you for joining the show. Why is it Rise Show?
Thank you.
Well, do you know, I love it when we get our relationship experts coming in to speak to us. It's always fascinating, and now more than ever, when we create relationships with our intimate partners, they do need work. They are works in progress, and if I can help share a platform with as many people to assist, if you guys are struggling with that or want to know more about that, then the more is the better. Pixie's just saying Fidel has definitely tweaked how I communicate with Joe. Really fascinating stuff once we start to understand the energy side of relationships, and Tabitha highlighted that so beautifully. So please do go and follow Tabitha Jane on Facebook. Go and join her group if that is something you want to know more about. All right, my darlings, have an incredible day today. I am sitting in my 90s boy band energy today. This morning I was stuck in traffic, and I was like really getting frustrated. I thought, what's going to make me happy? And I decided that Westlife was going to make me happy this morning. So I was having like a power sing along today, and I feel like that's one of the things that have set me up. I would love to know over in the IATQ Hive, what playlists make you happy, that help you, that, if you've got a power song, if you need to do an air grab. What, Kiss is not a 90s boy band? No, I know it's not. I was listening to it in the car, though. I bought this in the Tesco this morning, and I was just digging the whole rainbow rock side of things. But yeah, I was channeling my 90s boy band vibe in the car in my own carpool karaoke this morning. I was also burning a little bit of sage. This is not right. So I got this from the Psychic Tree, and this is a lavender and sage bundle, like smudge stick. I have never smelled anything quite so vile in my life. So I've had a little smudge this morning with my really stinky smudge stick. And I'm channeling my 90s boy band vibes. I'm rocking the rainbow rock this morning. I'm a whole bundle of awesome energy. I hope you are too. Go and rip it up today. I'll see you tomorrow for more Showing Up, Wising Up and Rising Up at 9:30 for Rise Up Show. Make sure you go and follow us over on Instagram at the Queen Bee. Dani, we're about 100 away from 4,000 followers on there. Please go and give us a follow. I feel like I'm doing all this awful begging with regards to my Instagram, but I don't care. We want to go for that 10K swipe up, you lot. So the more we chip away at these thousands, the better, the closer we are to the 10K swipe ups. When we do get incredible guests like Tabitha on the show, we could swipe up to their websites. It makes it easier for you to find our guests and our incredible Queen Bees. I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30. Tra.